U.S. politics is basically a plutocratic state where public policy has been taken over by several powerful lobbies, each one devoted to its specific area. And they keep the control over U.S. policy through campaign contributions, because our election campaigns are funded by billionaires and by corporate lobbies. And they cost about $15 billion now for an election cycle. And you may have seen George Soros yesterday said, I give my empire to my son. And the son said, I'm going to fund the Democratic Party. Well, that's the billionaires that he'll put in hundreds of millions of dollars. $1 billion would not be surprising in the 2024 election. And then there are other billionaires. And so what are the lobbies? Wall Street controls financial policy, and our health lobby controls our unbelievably expensive private so-called health system, and our ag lobby controls the food industry with about 60% obesity or overweight in the United States. Another huge, very serious public health crisis. And the military-industrial complex controls foreign policy, not just military policy, foreign policy. So we have perpetual war and trillion-dollar military budgets, $900 billion in the Pentagon budget, but there's a lot more. There's the CIA, and there's Homeland Security, and there are many other categories, Department of Energy with nuclear weapons and so on. It's maybe $1.2 trillion a year. So that's on the spending side. On the revenue side, we have unanimous agreement among the billionaires. Don't tax us. It's very simple. So we have a low tax collection in the United States, and this spending on the military, for example, which has cost about $6 trillion in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and some of the other wars. $6 trillion. It's a lot, by the way. It starts to add up a little bit. And so our debt crisis comes from a broken political system. It's not so interesting, Democrats and Republicans, by the way. That's a little bit a children's game. The oligarchy the plutocracy is both parties. And I lost interest in because it's basically a game.
I love how he said he don't even play the RedBlue game anymore because it's more of like a child's game. And it's almost like when you done with the RedBlue game, it's almost weird looking at the people who still does. Because almost like they are playing the game. It's almost like they're doing a dance. Like you watch.
It's like a Twilight Zone for me. I'm looking like, do you not realize this is fake? But go ahead. Or Truman Show, maybe more accurate for those. It's an old show where look up the Truman Show. We'll talk about it. But yeah, it's similar to that where you feel like you're in on it. You feel like you know, but everybody else doesn't know this is a play. Go ahead, Nick. Sorry about that.
Imagine you at the mall, right? And then you see people start fighting. But they're not really fighting. This guy hits the other guy with a Stone Cold Stunner. Then the other guy does a Hulk Hogan leg drop. Then they start throwing a few fake punches. That was like for us to watch people who engage in the RedBlue game. Like you guys are sparring, but you guys are fake sparring because you guys support the same empire.
I'm glad that Cornel West is running. I'm glad that RFK Jr. is running in the Democratic Party. I hope somebody else, anyone, even if it's somebody that I don't agree with on a lot of things, if somebody will run in the Democratic Party and just say, well, I don't think we should have these wars. I don't think we should have these bases. Anything that will keep that conversation going, because of course, the number one threat to humanity right now is a nuclear confrontation. And the Democratic Party right now, at this point, is the cutting edge, the leading edge that would take us to that level. So yes. I'm glad to see conversations arising more and more that are anti-war, that are even more, not just anti-war, anti-imperialism, because that's the foundation. The foundation of these wars is neoliberal capitalism and which drives imperialism, etc.
More.
Do you think that's why? Do you think that's why they're going after Trump so hard? Oh, his sound went out.
No, I can hear you.
It looks like. Oh yeah. No, do you think that's why? Do you think that's why they're kind of throwing everything at Trump? It seems like they're intensifying trying to not get him to run for president again? You think it's because he's publicly saying he's against the Iraq war? Do you think it has anything to do with that?
Yeah, Trump's not part of the team. And for as bad as he is on some things, there are areas that the machine, all they want is a puppet. The last thing they want is a person who won't go along with them on some things. And they're scared to death of Donald Trump because they don't know what he'll do. And he's angry now. And so he's going to want some revenge. And they know he may. Here's the other thing I think that the last thing I'll say. These people are so crooked and corrupt. They've got so many skeletons in their closet now. They cannot afford to have Trump or RFK Jr. or Cornel West or anyone in charge that might start lifting up rocks and looking under them and saying, whoa, wait a minute, you did this and this. They can't allow to have a person in charge of the FBI who's not completely corrupt and owned by the system who'll come in and say, let's start looking through this paperwork. Holy moly, you mean we did this? So they are really in a desperate position right now because they've been so corrupt. They've acted so illegally. They cannot afford to have a pair of unbiased eyes look at the things they've been doing because they'll all be in Guantanamo.
Yeah.
Well said, Garland.